All right. First, I want to start by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Call Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rekah, Kodash. Double honors, Pastor Elders, Great Millstone, who teach well. Peace, salutation to all you Aki four corners of the earth. I am Yaquan from YSO, Yahweh Shah Sanctified Ones. And Shalom to all you Aquaf listening and learning. And to all you speckled birds, Shalom and keep pushing, keep believing. We almost out of here. Um, we've been on a strike for the last like 14 days. We've been on, because we one of my videos I did was Esau Edom I was venting, ranting, so I ended up getting us a strike for about 14 days for that one. But all right, but we back. My bond did a video earlier, but I just want to we did a video right quick before I keep going. For those who don't know, subscribe to YSO Nashville 2. Okay. When we get strikes and you don't see us for a couple of days, it's because maybe 4 or 5 days you don't see nothing going on. It's because probably got a strike, and we on YSO Nashville 2. So you can subscribe to YSO Nashville 2. That way you can keep up with whatever videos we put out, if Lord willing, if the Lord put on your spirit to. All right, now with that said, title of my video is For Under the Whole Heaven. Okay, and I'm gonna go into slocking. I'm gonna go into while I'm doing it, but yeah. So for under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a people, right? It goes back to us as a people. Okay. When the Lord is speaking of Jerusalem, he's speaking of the people of Israel. Okay. When he's speaking of Jerusalem, cry for Jerusalem. Or you go to 2 Chronicles 6:6. But now I have chosen Jerusalem for my people. But now I have chosen Jerusalem as the place for my name to be honored, and I have chosen David to be king over my people Israel. Okay. All right. Isaiah 40. Comfort ye, my people. Saith your power, speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem. Okay, who is Jerusalem? Is the people. Okay, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished. Okay. So, when the Lord is speaking of Jerusalem, he's speaking of the people. All right. All right. So, but let me get the Zechariah 12:8. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house, But the point is, Jerusalem is the people. Okay. So, if we make up you was hoping, who's that, Joseph? What you was hoping we got banned? Is that what you're saying? You was hoping that our channel got banned, or what are you trying to say? Or you just asking, did it get banned? Well, no, evidently it didn't get banned because I'm on here right now. But you hoping for that? you scoffer. All right, but hey, look, it is what it is. I don't understand how you're stating your question there. Oh, okay, come. Yeah, no. Yeah, we was on the strike, 14-day strike. I had one of my videos was a little rough. They took it down. Esau. I was getting at Esau. Yeah, con. Yeah. We got another. Yep. Yeah, we got another channel. Which is, like I said, is a YSO Nashville 2. Just with the number 2. Yeah. So we just, but we back in effect on this video. So, but all right, but Salakia for that. Back to the video. The water. It's all good. Hey, it's all good, brother. It's all good. Hey, all right. What was I? I'm sorry, Salakia. Damn, what was I? All right, yeah. Oh, okay. So anyway, so back to the crux of the video. I don't want to get off track. Salakia for that. But I was all right. So anyway, so I was listening to this news station called WeOn, right? Like We Are One is what it's supposed to mean. And today while I was working, and the lady said something like that shit just struck a nerve with me, right? So I said, you know, I'm gonna do a video about this when I get home. So anyway, so I wanted to bring out. I'm gonna bring this out, okay, and then I'm gonna go into the video. This is Daniel chapter 9, verse. I'm gonna start at 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey the voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because we have sinned against him, meaning we sinned against Yahweh, the Most High, okay, our power. And he have confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. And what's that great evil? Esau, Edom. Okay. For under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem. And once again, Jerusalem goes back to a people. Okay. The people, we are Jerusalem. We are Yerushalayim. Okay. All right. So I'm going to play this video and then you'll understand. And I only got like, I think 2 more scriptures I was going to bring out because I got to close out kind of quick. And I'm going to read a little, couple excerpts. But I'm going to go into this video right quick. Salakia. I guess I should have set it up first before I even move forward. All right, Khan. All right, let me go on this video.
There are some things you must never do abroad, like insult the Queen in Britain, sport a swastika in Israel, or compare anything to the Holocaust in Germany. That's exactly what Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas did. He visited Berlin on Tuesday.
She said there's certain things that you must not do. Right? I don't care about the other one. She said about the swastika and disrespecting the Queen and all that. But she said about the Holocaust in Germany. I don't. Let me not miss a word. She just said it, and I don't want to. Let me get it 100% right. Okay.
Berlin on Tuesday, he held a bilateral meeting with Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Israel, or compare anything to the Holocaust in Germany.
So you must not compare anything. You must not compare anything to the Holocaust of Germany. There's certain things that you must not do in this world, in Esau's kingdom, in Esau's society. And that is to compare nothing to the Holocaust of the fake Jews. Okay, the small hatters, the Jewish. And ish meanings pertaining to something like, but not really. Okay, I'm gonna keep playing the video.
That's exactly what Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas did. He visited Berlin on Tuesday. He held a bilateral meeting with Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Things went fine until the press conference. Abbas was asked about the Munich massacre in 1972, the time when Palestinian terrorists attacked the Israeli contingent at the Olympic Games. 11 Israelis were killed, and this year marks the 50th anniversary of that attack. Now, the question put to Abbas was quite simple. Do you condemn or criticize the Munich massacre? And Abbas gave the worst possible answer. Listen to this.
From 1947 to the present day, Israel has committed 50 massacres in Palestinian villages and cities in Deir Yassin, Tantura, Kafr Qasim, and many others. 50 massacres, 50 holocausts. And until today, and every day, there are casualties killed by the Israeli military. Our request is to say enough, come towards peace.
So he just told the truth that whatever that the fake Jews, the Israelis had done to them, it doesn't even compare to what they've done to the Palestinians and to the people in that area. Okay, they've massacred. There's been 50 different Holocaust massacres of people in that area done by the Israelis, and continuing now to this day. You can look and see they're still bombing their asses. They're still killing them now today, right? We'll let it keep going.
Big mistake. The German chancellor was visibly upset. You could see the frown on his face as Abbas made these comments. Everyone knows it is the unsaid rule in Germany. Never compare anything to the Holocaust.
Unsaid
can
rule
you
in Germany.
Compare anything to the Holocaust? It is the unsaid rule in
Every day there are casualties killed by the Israeli military. Our request is to say enough. Come towards peace.
50 Holocaust.
Big mistake. The German chancellor was visibly upset. You could see the frown on his face as Abbas.
All right, down here at the bottom, it says the really prime minister says comments a moral disgrace. All right, 6 million Jews were hunted and killed in Nazi Holocaust. Okay.
Made these comments.
All right.
Everyone knows it is the unsaid rule.
Hey, look, I'm gonna give them 6 million Jews. I'm not about to go through all that. They can have the 6 million Jews that were hunted and killed. Okay, during the German Holocaust. Okay, that number they got out of thin air, it's not really proven. And I don't feel like going through all that because I don't have that time right now. But I'm going to give them the 6 million Jews. They can have that. The 6 million Jewish. Okay, not Jews, but the Jewish. Because we know Jew stands for Judah. Okay, Yahweh. Okay, so I'm going to give them the 6 million. They can have it. Okay, they want to come up with a thin air, right? It's unspoken. You can never because there's nothing ever been done in the world as like the Holocaust. And I just read to you in Daniel 9 and 12 that there's nothing never been done to Israel, okay, to the Hebrew Israelites, okay, not the Jewish, but the Hebrew Israelites. There has never been nothing done under heaven until it has been done unto the Israelites, okay. So now let me keep going right quick. Then I'm gonna get into the other thing.
In Germany, never compare anything to the Holocaust. Frankly, can you compare anything to the Holocaust? Around 6 million Jews were hunted and killed by Nazi Germany. 6 million. Since then, the world has seen multiple genocides, multiple human rights abuses, but nothing compares to the scale of the Holocaust.
Nothing compares? Nothing? She said, but nothing. But nothing compares. But nothing compares to the fake 6 million Jewish that were murdered by so-called Holocaust. And it was supposedly Hitler that did it. Okay? All right. So I'm not going to go into that deep story, but to brief the story is a lot of the ones that were killed, and that 6 million is not a proven number, but a lot of the ones that were some died from famine, some they were put out of Hitler wanted them out of Germany. Hitler gave them a chance to get the fuck out of Germany. He said, get the fuck out, because he did not want the Khazarians. Okay. He did not want Esau, Edom, Amalek. Really, it's Amalek. He didn't want Amalek there no more because he was bringing all that. He was destroying Germany. Okay. They were going through high inflations. There was all this sex all over the street. It was Germany was being fucked up. So Hitler told them to get the fuck out of their land. Okay. He gave them an opening, a door for them all to get the fuck out and go back to their land. Go back to the mountains of Georgia and Russia, back to the Caucasus. He gave them a chance to get the fuck out. Okay. They chose not to. All right. So as that door closed, some were murdered. Some were in what you call concentration camps. Okay. But to this big, huge effect that America and America's what do you want to call them? Buddies, their cronies, their ass kissers. Okay, they sit up here and try to say that this big time 6 million Jews were so hunted down and slaughtered and murdered, and okay, all right. So, but there's never been nothing done to any other people okay, on this earth. Okay, never. All right. So right here, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna start here. Salaki for the long-windedness. Okay, this is the death toll from the slave trade, the African Holocaust. So we're gonna talk about it. So we got a number of 6 million, and where that number come from, I still don't know. But okay, I'm gonna give it to them. Okay, whatever. They can have 6 million. You can have 6 million. It's your number. That's fine. That's beautiful. Because, like you said, can you really compare anything to the 6 million Jewish? Oh, okay. Well, let's compare this. The death toll from the slave trade, the African Holocaust. Okay, 60 million dead at the hand of white Christian imperialism. Do I really even need to say more? Do I even really need to even go further? I mean, really, like, seriously, should I even say just that alone? If that shit don't compare to the so-called 6 million Jewish, okay, and them Africans is Israelites, the real Jews, okay, Jehovah, our people, North America, the southern and northern kingdom of Israel, okay, Yashala. Now I'm gonna continue on. 60 million dead at the hands of white Christian imperialism. Okay, we know that there's no white is a social construct. We know that the so-called white man was never called white, and especially during that time, they're Europeans. Okay, that's Esau, it's Amalek, because they were red. Okay, that was something that came in the 1600s, 1681. Okay, and I think the lady name was Jacqueline Battlelore. She burned that out. Okay, because Elder Malcolm goes into it. Okay, from GMS. All right, but I believe he said her name was Jacqueline Battlelore. She brung it out about I think it was about 1861. They started calling themselves white. Okay, now let's get into this. The largest slave trade in the history of the world was not 6 million Jews. Okay, not 6 million Jewish. The largest slave trade in history of the world was, okay, wow, was created by white Christian Europeans. Before it was over, as many as 60 million Africans will be killed, meaning Israelites, will be killed for the profit of white Christian imperialism. A key reason for the high death toll was a tidal wave of war and desolation that the slave trade unleashed into the heart of Africa. Huge numbers of people died being marched to the coast of Africa from the interiors, as well as in the endless series of wars produced by the quest for new slaves. Okay, and you also have to remember that there were slaves sent from Europe to America. Not only did the slaves come from the west coast of Africa, slaves also came from Europe because they was pushing us out of Scotland, Wales. We were being pushed out of Britain. We were being pushed out of all those areas as well. Okay, and we were being pushed between the North America, Central America, South America. Okay, millions more would die in concentration camps at both ends of the sea journey. So from on the shores of so-called Africa, on the shores of so-called America. Okay, and a significant number would die due to the appalling conditions on the slave ships. The financial profit of this slave trade helped build the economic foundation of America. Okay, America was built off the backs of the slaves of Israel. Okay, you Negro, Latino, Native Americans. Okay, and Seminole Indians. It was not just the South. Northern business interests made huge profits too. It is difficult to estimate the exact death toll that resulted from the transatlantic slave trade. There weren't exactly people measuring these numbers at that time. What we looked at are historical estimates of how many people may have died in capture. That's Devia. That's you go ahead, open the door. The voyage at sea and due to disease, starvation, and backbreaking labor in the New World. But what is certain is that the slave trade was a genocide against the African people, meaning the Israelites. Okay, because when I read back to you Daniel 9 and 12, because let me go back here right quick. This is Daniel chapter 9, verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed. Okay, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they may not obey the voice. Therefore, the curse, and you go back to Deuteronomy 28. Okay, read it if you need it. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, because we have sinned against Yahweh. Okay, and he have confirmed his words, which he spake against us, not against the whole world, against. So that's a Pacific people. So it's not the whole world that went through this slavery. It's not the whole world. It's a Pacific people. Okay, they call them Africans. And Africa goes back to Africanus, Scipiano Africanus. Okay, that's a man. It goes back to a slaver. Okay, so that's not the name of that land. That land is a country. Okay, continent. Okay, all right. Different countries inside of that continent. Okay, of so-called Africa. That's the land of Ham. You got Egypt, Put area, Mizraim, which is Egypt, Put, Canaan. All right, so you got the Sudanese. You got different countries within that continent. All right. Now, back to what I was reading. And against our judges that judged us by bringing upon us a great evil. Okay, the great evil was what? Slavery. Was the Atlantic slave trade. Okay, and also the slave trade that came out of Europe. And also, if you go back into, I think it was called the Pacific slave trade. Okay, it was the Philippines that were being traded because Jake was in the Philippines. Okay, we were being slaves traded back and forth between Americans to the Philippines to the all around the world. Okay, then don't forget about the Arab slave trade. So there's been many slave trades, but there has not been a slave trade as heavy as grossly defiled, as filthy as this American slave trade. Okay, the Atlantic slave trade. Okay, because that means because we came through what? Through the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. All right, now back to it. By bringing upon us a great evil, for under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done upon Jerusalem. So this 6 million Jew-ish shit, you need to cancel it. Okay, but they gonna hold the lie. Okay, this goes back to Psalms 83rd chapter. Okay, they confederate against us. Okay, that's Elam. She's an Elamite. Okay, and this is the thing: the nations is gonna pay for their shit. All these dark nations, you can see she's brown skinned. Okay, all these other dark nations on this earth, they sold out to this devil, to Esau, to the so-called white man, and they gonna pay for their shit. This bitch is going to straight slavery, and she gonna have slavery too. See, this is what we don't see. We don't really talk about the nations, okay? But the nations are all going to be in slavery, and you gonna get your shit too. For every idle word that's been spoken out of the mouth of these fucking heathens, these nobodies, they gonna pay for your shit. Okay, so they confirmed everything, every lie that the devil has put forth. They've joined their Satan's hand and they put forth these lies. Okay. All right. So back to this. So let me go back to my my excerpt I was reading out of. And this is what I'm reading out of is worldfuturefund.org. Okay. worldfuturefund.org. All right. Now, let's go. Let me get back to it. Now, it is difficult to estimate the exact death toll that resulted from the transatlantic slave trade. So that number could be, well, it's definitely not lower. So it could definitely be high. So some places say, let me keep going. Okay, there weren't exactly people measuring these numbers at that time. What we look at are historical estimates of how many people may have died in capture during the voyage at sea and due to disease, starvation, back-breaking labor in the New World. But what is certain is that the slave trade was a genocide against the African people, against the Israelite people, okay, which is they call us Africans. Okay, the transatlantic slave trade was also the largest long distance, okay? It was the largest long distance, okay, movement of people in history. Okay? The estimate of the number killed during the transatlantic slave trade varies anywhere between 6 to 150 million. So we know that number is closer to 150 million. Okay, the estimate number, okay, they estimated how many people were probably killed. So they're going to take the lowest number they can possibly take, 6 million. Okay, because that's the number they give the fake Jews. Okay, to 150 million. So we know that number, like they said, nobody was recording the measure. Nobody measured how many people were being killed. They just killing them. Okay, to 150 million dead. Okay, from one shore to the other shore. Okay, from rounding them up to getting them to the shore, from the shore onto the boats, from the boats through the Middle Passage, from the Middle Passage to the Americas, from the Americas onto the shores, from the shores onto slavery. That motherfucking number is high as fuck. So we talking about 150 million plus and still counting to this day. Okay, still counting to this day. Okay, so that number is higher than a motherfucker. So there's no comparison, this lady says. There's no comparison to the 6 fucking million. And I'm going to give that number to them. Let them have it, 6 million. Who gives a fuck? We're talking about 150 million plus. Okay? If there's no comparison to that number, 6 million, that's somebody give you $6 million. Okay? There's no comparison to 6 million. Well, unless you're talking about 150 million. You're talking about 150 million. Give me the 150 million. Hell, you take the 6 million, but give me the 150 million. There's no comparison to the number of the Israelites that were enslaved and murdered and killed coming into this fucking existence of America, so-called America, Babylon. 150 million plus. Murdered, genocide, raped, robbed, castrated, okay, corks stuck up their assholes, diseases, vomiting on each other, shitting on each other, pissing on each other, all kind of sicknesses, okay? There's no comparison being packed in a fucking ship like sardines. There's no comparison to what was done to our people, to the so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans. There's no comparison to what was done to them. And we're just talking about Judah right now. Okay, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. We're talking about those that came out of West Africa. Once again, you cannot forget about the slave trade that came out of Europe, because there was also slaves, because Negroes was in the so-called Negroes were in Europe because we were ruling Europe from the Dark Ages. So you have that as well. You got see, that's a whole number that's not even out there because they hide the fact that it was so-called Negroes ruling Europe. So we hide the fact that there was hundreds of millions of so-called Negroes coming out of Europe and put to death, being killed in Europe, and then also to the shorelines from there onto Portuguese, and onto the Americas, North, South, Central America. Okay. So there's no comparisons to that number. Okay. So now, however, we ourselves will be inclined to agree the figure of 60 million 60 million. Give them that. Given all the variables here, including the fact that during the entire period of the slave trade, the African population did not increase. I wonder why. Some may argue that this is because of Europe had advanced medicines and technology while Africans didn't. That's not the truth. Yet during this era, Asia was, because sickness, like, because when they came over here fucking with Gad, hell, Gad wasn't sick until the so-called white man got here, gave him smallpox and blankets and shit. So they Europe wasn't that healthy because they came over with a bunch of sicknesses and diseases. Okay. Yet during this era, Asia wasn't exactly at a technological level either. Okay, so like at a sophisticated technological level either. But their population nearly doubled. We believe the stagnation of Africa's population is a byproduct of the transatlantic slave trade. No, really? All right. Now, the transatlantic slave trade took place across the Atlantic Ocean from the 15th through the 19th century. The vast majority of those who were enslaved were deported to the New World, mainly on a triangular trade route and its middle passage. Most of those in that triangular trade route, it goes from Europe, Africa to the Americas and back again. Okay. Now, the West Africa, the numbers of Africans brought to the New World were so great that they became the largest number of immigrants, of slaves, to be brought to the New World before the late 18th century. By 1820, nearly 4 Africans for every 1 European had crossed the Atlantic, and about 4 out of every 5 females that transversed the Atlantic were from Africa. This was not the first time in history that Africans were kidnapped, okay, from their homes, enslaved, okay, European and Muslim, okay, engaged in the slave trade, which we talk about that before the colonization of Americas. Yet the transatlantic slave trade further bled Africa of its people and resources. While it was not the only slave trade in Africa, it was the largest in terms of sheer volume and intensity, meaning it was hell, it was raw, it was rugged. Okay, that shit was worse than the Arab slave trade. Okay. Now, let me see. I'm just right quick. The African continent was bled of its human resources. Okay, so the biggest, I always said the biggest human trafficker is who? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. He's the biggest stealer of people, identity, land, riches, women, and everything else that come along with it. Okay. All right, let me jump down here. Let me jump down here. All right, this is the conditions. Okay, aboard the ships, African captives. Okay. African captives were packed into tight, unsanitary spaces for months at a time. Many slaves who tried to starve themselves to death were force-fed, meaning they would bust their teeth open and they would stick a funnel down their fucking throat and force-feed them slop. These conditions also resulted, so you'd be eating your teeth, your blood, all that, whatever the fuck was in there, you'd just be eating. These conditions also resulted in the spread of fatal diseases. Other fatalities were suicide and slaves who escaped their fate by throwing themselves overboard. And they were saying that it was so much blood in the oceans that the sharks switched their migration pattern after the slaves that were dumped off in the ocean, all the blood. The sharks' migration pattern switched due to slave because it was so much food, so many dead bodies, so much blood dropped off into the ocean that the sharks switched the way they migrated. Okay. Because they was feasting, okay, for years. Okay. From the 1500s to the 1900s, they were feasting on our people. Okay. The slave trades would attempt to fit anywhere between 350 and 600 slaves on one ship. The journey typically took anywhere between 2 to 4 months. And during this time, enslaved people were chained naked in rows on the floor of the hold or on shelves that ran along the inside of the ship's halls. Okay, now I'm gonna jump down here. Death due to disease and malnutrition was also common, given that slaves were fed a low nutrition, purely starch-based diet. Okay, common symptoms of diseases among enslaved populations included blindness, abdominal swelling, bowel leg, skin lesions. Common conditions among enslaved populations included Briarberry, caused by a deficiency of the thiamine. Man, there's so many different shit. Let me see. Tetany, caused by deficiency of calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D. Okay, so our people were just all deficient. All right, everything that we had, we would have diarrhea, we had whooping cough, we had respiratory disease, we had as well as all worms pushed and infect in infant and elderly children. Child death rate of slavery to twice the experience by white infants and children. So that right there. We speak of the adults that were murdered, killed. What about the children that were murdered, killed as well? Okay. No one knows the exact number of slaves who died in the New World. Yet in American Holocaust, 1992, David Stern estimated that 30 to 60 million Africans died while being enslaved. He claims a 50% majority rate among new slaves while being gathered and stored in Africa, 10%, okay, among the survivors while crossing the ocean, and another 50% majority rate mortality rate in the first season phase of slave labor. So that's just one. Okay, so we can estimate to 150 million Israelites or so-called Africans were put to death during the slave trade. So we know this 6 million number right there. There's no comparison to what was done to our people. Okay, there's to the death, to the disease, different disease that was caused, okay, through the slave trade. There's no number you can put on it. Okay, so they can't even estimate it because nobody was measuring, but they know it was hundreds of millions of slaves that were murdered from one shore to the Middle Passage to the other shore. Okay, and now to this day, they still racking up the bill, right? They still racking up the bill. All right, so let me go here right quick. Native American genocide. Now, we done went through the African American genocide. This is the Native American genocide. Dark origins of the American dream. Okay, let me get to the good part. Let me just read this first part. Genocide is as old as history. It has been a part of the human condition from the very beginning. There are two main forms of genocide. One is direct genocide, as deliberate campaign to kill all members of an ethnic group. Okay, that was what happened to the Israelites, right? The second form of genocide is indirect genocide, which achieves the same result by seizing or destroying the land. Same thing. That's what happened to us from the northern kingdom to the southern kingdom, and this really happened to the northern kingdom. Okay, this happened to Gad over here in the Americas. They was doing both. They was directly genociding them, and they was also indirectly genociding because they was killing off all the buffaloes and all the livestock. Okay, the same result by seizing or destroying the land, the crops, the livestock, and other essential items needed for survival. The World War II, for example, the Germans used both forms. Direct genocide took place in the gas chambers, and that's going back to the 6 million Jews. Indirect genocide took place via programs like Operation Hunger, where food was diverted from local slave populations. In the Europe conquest of North and South America, both forms of genocide were also used, although by far the predominant form of genocide was indirect genocide. A particularly horrible aspect of of this tactic was the near extermination of the buffalo herd. Okay. We do not know the exact number of people killed in the Americas, meaning the indigenous, meaning Gad, Reuben, okay, the Native Americans. There was no one back in the time of Columbus compiling a census or doing a mass survey, just like for Judah, when Judah, Benjamin, Levi was being shipped in that triangular slave trade, okay, from Europe, America, West Africa. Okay. However, we concluded that a figure of 75 million is reasonable. There's no number that you can compare to the 6 million Jewish that were killed. However, we conclude that a figure of 75 million is reasonable. A death toll of 100 million figure has been documented by the author D.E. Standard, author American Holocaust. D.E. Standard has said, the destruction of the Indians of the Americas was far and away the most massive act of genocide in the history of the world. So where this bitch get off? Now you tell me where that 6 million matter over the top of that 75 million to 100 million. 100 million Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Gad, 100 million Gadites. And don't forget about the so-called Mexicans, the so-called Puerto Ricans, the so-called Colombians, the so-called Asherites. So you're talking about North America, Central America, and South America. Okay? Okay, the genocide that has been done to the Israelites, there has not, when you go back to Daniel 9 and 11 through 12, okay, there has never been done under heaven. There has never been a genocide done unto what's been done to our people. But they take this 6 million and they make this the biggest number that ever happened to a people for murder, a genocide. Yeah, okay. Okay. Today there are only around 5 million. Today there are only, well, hold on, let me get this right. Let me go jump back up. The destruction of the Indians of the Americas was far and away the most massive act of genocide in the history of the world. And so they killed more fucking buffalo. They killed more fucking buffalo. That was a mass genocide of the animals than they killed, than Hitler so-called killed the so-called Jewish, which was Amalek. They killed more buffalo than the so-called Jewish were killed in the so-called Jewish Holocaust. Okay, the buffaloes of America, there was more of them killed. There's no number to compare to that other than the genocide of the Negro, Latino, Native Americans. Okay, yeah. Okay, and apparently it didn't take long for the Europeans to get this genocide started. So it didn't take them long to get to killing. They got busy. Okay, they got hella busy. All right. Today, there are only around 5 million Native Americans left in the United States, and that number probably lower than that. It's probably lower than 5 million because where the fuck you see Jews at with the the natives at? Where do you see Gad at? Reuben? Where? I can tell you where. I've seen them. I know where they be at, but where? You gotta go way the fuck up to up in fucking Lord, I'm drawing a damn blank. Up into Utah, you gotta go. You find them way over there, up in Wyoming, okay, North Dakota. You gotta go way up to find them. Okay, they way out west, way out there up in the mountains. You gotta go way out there and go find them because you very rarely see them anywhere else around in America. Why? Because they killed the majority of. They killed a whole fucking lot of them. Okay, over hundreds of millions of Native Americans were slain and murdered in America. Okay. So that genocide there's no comparison to that genocide. Only comparison to that genocide is the genocide of the Judites, okay, of Judah, Benjamin and Levi, coming out of Atlantic slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, that's the only other comparison to the Native American slave trade was the slave trade of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, coming out of so-called Africa. Okay, even the buffalo. Okay, far and beyond what was done to the fake Jews or the fake Jewish Holocaust. Okay, but they can still have that 6 million number. If this was dollars and cents, we would be the most massively richest people on earth. Okay, they can have $6 million, but you give us the 100 million from Gad and give us the 100 million from Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and you take it from Gad and a northern tribe on down. We'll take from Gad, northern tribe on down. Okay, we'll take them numbers, and you can have a little $6 million. Give me, because that number is a vastly, gross difference. Okay, that's a huge amount of death toll for our people. So have that 6 million Jews. Okay, Jewish. Today there are only around 5 million Native Americans left in the United States. If 5 million. Okay, like I said, because Gad is few and far in between. Okay, you gotta go way out in Wyoming and way the fuck out there. Okay. Yeah, you gotta way out in that area to find them. It is really likely that the area encompassing the U.S. only have 5 million people when the Europeans arrived. We doubt that. After all, as a part of comparison, the population of Africa had approximately 86 million people in the year of 1500. According, to the necromancy, how you say that, by early as the 16th century, the Native Americans' death toll had already reached an estimated 60 million. So by the 16th century, they had killed 60 million Native Americans. What the fuck more can be said? Okay, what more can be said? Let me jump down here. Unfortunately, there are those who wish to engage in Holocaust denial. Okay, that's what they are. Holocaust denial. They're denying the fact that our people were put through death, through a murder, a Holocaust, a death rate higher than a 6 million. There's never been nothing done under the sun that has been done unto Israel. Okay? A common myth is the effort to blame the massive death toll, exclusively on disease brought by European invaders. Like all deceptions in history, there is an element of truth here. Many Native Americans did die of European disease. However, there is a very convenient effort to ignore the fact that all too many of these people became vulnerable to disease when their essentials of life were either stolen or disrupted by the invaders, by the enslavers, by the colonizers. Furthermore, the campaigns of direct and indirect genocide certainly killed millions all by itself. From the initial invasion by Columbus, Native Americans were the targets of hundreds of years of war from the invaders. Okay, and Columbus went down to Central South Americas. Okay, Amerigo Vespucci came up here to the North America. Okay, him and the Crusaders. Does any honest person really believe that these wars had only minor death tolls? In the U.S., Native Americans were driven off 99% of their land and herded into so-called reservations, where they were subject to some of the worst poverty and horrible living conditions in the country. All right, man. So, so let me go here. This is Psalm 73 and 8. They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. And that's the rest of these people, man. All these nations, the heathen nations, they speak loftily. The Esau, Edom, they lie. They speak as nothing has ever been done on this earth compared to that 6 million Jew, that number. Oh, nobody's ever been put to death in that manner. Okay? Never. All right, but I'm gonna end it again with Daniel the 9th chapter. I'm way over my time. I was not supposed to make this long, but Salaki for that, for being long-winded. But this is I'm gonna end it back again on Daniel 9th chapter. This is Daniel 9 and 12. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done, and has been done upon Jerusalem. All right, hey, so with that said, I'm Yaquan for why. So y'all try to say 5 ones. I want to say Shalom and a ball. Death to Mary, death to this wicked ass scheme, and death to these fucking Shalom and a ball. Probably a strike for this one too. Shalom. And we get a strike, YSO2 Nashville. YSO Nashville 2. Shalom.